everyone, this is Annie from the Kawartha Art Gallery. On this second episode of Projects for Kids 11 to 13, I'm going to be showing you how to make a robotic hand. This will model what's going on under the skin of our real hands. You will need standard drinking straws and thicker smoothie straws, but since I don't have those, I couldn't find them anywhere, I'm going to be using the ends of these, these thicker ends. Cardstock or cardboard for your hand to go on. String or yarn. I sort of recommend yarn, but I use string here. Scissors, white glue, and a pencil. So first you're going to want to place the white cardstock on a solid surface, and we're going to use the pencil to trace around your hand. I recommend tracing a bit wider than your actual hand, because if it's bigger, it'll be a bit easier to work with in the future. And now, as you could probably guess, we're just going to cut the outline of the hand out. Now, you see the places where our hand bends? That's our joints, right? And we're going to mark the joints on our cardstock. Next up, we're going to bend the fingers at the places we've marked. And right here, I'm only bending them inwards, but it's good to bend them both ways. Now, each bent segment of the hand, you're going to want to cut a piece of straw about as big as that segment, if that makes any sense. So, as you can see, those little straws at the end, those will be the ends of your fingers, and the bit longer ones will be the bottom parts of your fingers. And also, the straw bits were just flying everywhere, so I recommend doing this in a spot where you know you won't lose them. A lot of them fell on the floor for me, and I had to just pick up a whole bunch of things. And this is what it all looks like. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab your straw bits and put a bit of glue on them and then just tape them down to the hand. You can also use tape or hot glue. Actually, I think hot glue is a little bit better because this gave me a lot of grief because the glue wasn't sticking very well. Also, you may be thinking, wow, she's gonna get a bunch of glue all over her fingers, but I really like peeling glue off my fingers. Here is me doing that, because it is actually very fun and satisfying. Maybe that is a really weird thing to say, but here's an extra for those who do like it. So yeah, you're just gonna wanna keep doing that until you have all of your straw joints glued to your hand, not your real hand. Also remember to stick down that big smoothie straw along the wrist, and remember I will have to use the ends because I don't have a smoothie straw. So I just sort of glued the ends together to make a bigger piece, I guess. But I highly recommend getting a smoothie straw because this took so long. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your string, measure it to about a foot long or long enough that it goes from the fingertips all the way past the wrist of your hand. And you're going to want to cut 5 pieces of string this length, one for each finger. Now I have all 5 pieces of string, and you're going to want to take each of them and tie a knot at the end. Now, if you used yarn, then tying a couple of knots should be enough for it to catch inside of the straws, but if you use thin string like me, then you're going to have to do the next step. Again, yarn users, you can most likely skip the next part I'm about to show you. So I used a pencil and stabbed a hole through a part of the hand, as you can see. And then I threaded the string through that hole first instead of just threading it right through the straws to begin with because the string is so thin. Yeah, so now I am taking the string and I'm just making it a little bit thinner so it's easier to thread. threading it through that little hole I made with the pencil, and just pulling it all the way through. And that knot I made earlier, see, it catches. And that's exactly what we want. And so now everyone, this is for everyone, you want to take your string and thread it through the straws. As you can see, I am struggling slightly. Okay, and then thread it all the way through the straw at the wrist as well. Yep. So you're going to want to do that with every single finger. And it takes a little bit of time, but I assure you it will be worth it in the end. Also, some of the straws became unglued, or like the glue just kind of fell, so then they just slid down. This is again why I think you should probably use hot glue, or just use way more white glue than I did. And just like that, we are done. So now, if you pull on any of the strings at the bottom, you'll see the fingers moving. See, isn't that quite interesting? And they even bend at the joints like our own hands. And if you're like me, I just looked at my own hand while pulling this in comparison, and I was like, huh, that's kind of cool. And just like that, we have made our own robotic hand. Now that our robotic hand is made, let's ask ourselves, how does this reflect the real world? Well, there are muscles in your forearm, and when they contract, they move what are called tendons in your hand. Tendons are what connect your muscles to your bones. So the string acts like tendons, and they all connect at the big straw at the wrist, which could be considered the muscle. It's crazy to think that you can move all 5 fingers individually, yet they all stem down towards a few bigger muscles in your forearm and your wrist. Hey, thanks for watching. This is the second episode of a series of 5, so go back and watch the first one if you haven't already. Kids and parents, if you did this experiment, then take a quick picture of it, email it to this email address, along with the child's name, age, and the title of this video, and we will post it on the Kawartha Art Gallery website and social media so that you can see your own projects featured online.